Hey everybody, I'm Taryn Southern and welcome back. We just finished up the screening of Anonymous, and in just a few minutes we're going to do a very special Q&A and discussion with the filmmakers as well as the Emeritus Professor of English at Berkeley, Alan H. Nelson, and we're going to be welcoming him up here to introduce the filmmakers. So thank you so much for being here.
It's a very gripping film in many respects, and to me, the only question that I want to raise this evening, and you may want to raise other questions about film technology, about style and so forth, but I, being a literary historian, am interested in the historical truth. And this movie comes with a truth claim presented by Derek Jacobi. That is to say, the Shakespeare that we know is a false idol, and here is the truth, or at least a possible version of the truth about Shakespeare. In sum, Anonymous embraces a lunatic conspiracy theory while revealing an incomprehensible lack of sympathy for real people, including William Shakespeare, who was degraded against all historical evidence into an illiterate and venal clown. That's my opening remark.
Okay. Just to clarify, so what did you think of the film?
I thought, as I said, I didn't come to talk about the film except as it denigrates William Shakespeare.
So Shakespeare, according to the traditional theory, spent about, what, 20 years in London, would you say?
I'd give you 20 years, yes.
20 years in London, living part of the time in London and part of the time in Stratford. No letter has ever been found written by William Shakespeare. So Shakespeare has no letters, and often Stratfordians say, well, it was very common that these letters disappeared in the last 500 years with all of these playwrights. So that's interesting because we have letters from Ben Jonson, from Nash, from Massinger, from Spencer, from Daniel, from Peele, from Chapman, from Drummond, from Lilly, from Lodge, from Dekker, from Kidd. I would gather that you probably have only heard of 20% of those Elizabethan playwrights, but we have letters from them. They exist. We know they wrote. We have none for Shakespeare. Somehow, history has managed to save all of those letters from all of those people, but in London and in Stratford, they've all disappeared. And I would argue that the most simple explanation isn't extraordinarily choosy floods and fires, but is the fact that they never existed. That is the simplest conclusion.
So I asked myself, how can somebody write, I think it's not 40, I think it's like kind of 38 plays, right? And most of them take place at court. More than a third of them take place in Italy. The greatest writer of English literature had his daughters not learn read and write. And I can just not believe that the man who wrote all these plays and all these sonnets doesn't want his kids to read, these plays.
I speak quite frequently at schools in England, just as a visiting lecturer, on this subject of the authorship, and these are usually kids from between the ages of 13 and 18. And even in England, Shakespeare is a very remote figure to them. He kind of lacks humanity, he's sort of an icon, but little more than that. And this subject, this lens, looking through that lens, helps them to reconnect with Shakespeare's humanity. It can only be a good thing to open kids' minds to this, so that you put Shakespeare back in that context of his times and also of his own experiences. I think it's very dangerous, and literary theory has done this in recent years, to divorce a person's art from his life.
What, in your heart, really made you want to create this film?
I mean, I think all my movies have big ideas, and I thought if I do like a smaller movie which has not that many like visual effects, I want to kind of do something which has a big idea. And I thought it was an appropriate idea, it was a big idea. It was 10 years ago I made the decision. It took me 10 years to make this movie, and I don't regret it 1 second.
As I said, Shakespeare, nothing exists in his own handwriting other than his possible 6, maybe 4 signatures. So that's where I always started from. I just find it, I'm still not sure the amount of natural disasters I don't think even Roland could make the amount of natural disasters required to make the million words that he wrote disappear.
But when you consider that, who is Hamlet? He's someone whose claim to the throne has been thwarted, and the normal political channels have been closed to him. So what does he do? He uses the theatre to tell the truth and assert his royal right. And I think that many scholars, even of the orthodox persuasion, have sensed that Hamlet is Shakespeare's autobiography. And if it is, then the film that Roland has made speaks, I think, very powerfully to that truth.
All right, do you guys have anything else that you'd like to just sum up as we end here? All right, I want to thank all of you for coming tonight, and for everyone that's been watching online. This could go all night, to be honest. It's pretty riveting. And thank our filmmakers and the professors for being here and dedicating their time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
10,000 souls, all listening to the writings of one man, the ideas of one man. That's power, Robert!
Since when did words ever win a kingdom?
Words will prevail. Will Shakespeare.
In my world, one does not write plays.
People like you do. Mark my words, he has done this for a purpose. Promise me you'll keep our secret safe.
Rated PG-13.